Welcome back to a little update video today. We will look, is this now the bottom for AMC or not? Was the earnings for GME good or bad? We will do a little tiny update on DJT. Because of earnings tomorrow, we will look at BYND, what are the possibilities, and at the end, we will update a little bit SPY. If you're interested, just stay tuned. As always, I'm using the Fractal Method. I will put the explanation video at the end of the video, or you just search for the playlist Fractal Method on my channel. Okay, well, then let's jump into AMC. So, and for AMC, for the big update video, I will link you at the end of the channel for how should the squeeze look like, price targets, and today we just look what we have done this week. So let's zoom in. And for all people who are already following me a longer time, you already know what that means. That's not the button for me. I only can say sorry, but no. Yeah, this thing is not our bottom, not our V. Yeah, it's the same shit like here. It's the same shit like here, and. I already showed in the last videos and the big update video how a bottom should look like. A knife down, a clear V out. Yeah, and this shit here. This was a knife, okay, fine, but this is not a V out. Yeah, I mean, first rule, as I showed that in the last video, is no double buttons. Yeah, if we zoom in, that's not a double button because this is our low. This is higher, this is higher, this is higher, this is higher. Okay, yeah, so this is okay, but no, not with this movement, no. Before we go into the bearish tracking, if for whatever reason we're going up from here, yeah, if you go over 122, then I'm wrong. Okay, if we go over this, then this was the bottom. Why ever? I'm just saying, for me personally, there is no chance that this is the bottom. Yeah, it wasn't in 2021, it wasn't in 2024, it wasn't in 2025. If we suddenly doing it something completely different, okay, fine. But there was not one squeeze where we did such a stupid bottom. No. For my tracking, if you just look at this iteration here, this was a top, here's our lower high, here's our midpoint, and this is our last time to sell before we find the V again. In that case, I would imagine till Friday, we will break this bottom. And I can only say, I hope this time we really see something quick and knifey. At the same time, with a clear V out of it. If we again slowly grinding down here, and then slowly grinding up and doing this and this and this, I can only say that I will sit here again and will tell you, not the bottom. Yeah. We just have to wait, sadly. Yeah. For me personally, it's not the time to buy still, because we will go lower. Okay, so much for AMC. Next one, GME. Also for GME, for the big update for how the squeeze looks like, should look like, price target and so on, I will link the video at the end of the video. Today we just look at the earnings move. So let's zoom in. And sadly, I have to say, this is the shittiest move we could get, in my opinion, because it didn't tell us anything. Yeah, we still have a bullish version, a bearish version, and a very bearish version. And I would say, even with this move, I'm tending even more now to the bearish moves, yeah, because it was really shitty. Yeah, I really expected a way more clear answer, but let's go through everything. So we will start with the two bearish moves, only because I already showed it in the German video, and I'm tending more to this. So for the bearish move, here's our T. And for the bearish moves, there are two versions. We start with the not too bearish move. Yeah? With the not too bearish move, we have to change that. So is November 2025 still our low? Yeah? We did our higher low, a micro higher low, and right now we are still doing our bigger higher low. Good part is this is our last higher low before we go up. Yeah? In that case, here on February the 3rd, 2026 was our peak of our higher low. Then we did our little lower high. In March, on March 10, 2026 was our midpoint. And this peak, this after hours, this earnings was our T. In that case, we have to go under $20.86. I would imagine we have to go to 2050. Yeah, but you have to bounce here. For this version, you have to bounce at, let's say, 2030 minimum. You have to bounce there. Yeah, if you're not bouncing there, we come to the next version, but you have to bounce there. But I really think this version is for me the most likely one. With this move, most likely one. It would have been something completely different if this move would just went over 25, but we rejected here. That for me, I could be wrong, but for me, this is a perfect T. Could be wrong. So for this to be higher low, you go to 2030 maximum, then you bounce and still go up. Yeah? You will go up to your A, which is over 28.35-ish dollars. Do your last 0.5618 pullback, and that in the same time when GME is there, AMC should be finished too. Both are squeezing. If you break here under 2030-ish, especially if you touch $19.62, I tell you, you go to 17 or lower. Yeah? There is no if or but or good earnings, merger news, or whatever. If you break $19.62, you will go at least to 17 or 17.50. Yeah? There's no way around it. Yeah? In that case, this was a T. The other thing was a T, and you will knife. Yeah? I can't oversee it. I wouldn't say I betting on it. Yeah, but for me, at least you go to 2050. At least. Yeah. For me, no discussion anymore. Yeah. Now to the bullish version. And here, the bullish version. Yeah, where your low, November 20, was still your low. You have a little higher low, and you already broke out of trend. This would be your A, and this would be your A pullback. If you look, you have from your low to your peak, you broke the 618, but as I said, you don't have to be exactly at the point. Sorry, you can also break under it. The only thing A isn't allowed to do is touching or breaking the 786, which we didn't do yet. Yeah? In that case, you bounced here. In that case, you have to go up from here. Otherwise, this version has no chance. So for GME, it's quite simple. If you go over 25, every bearish alternative I showed is dead. Your last chance for downside for the bounce for not going to 17 is if you bounce at 2050-ish, 2030, and then go up. Otherwise, you will touch and break 1960, and then you will go to 70. To what I'm leaning to, I would say 40% that we bounce at 2050, 50% that we go to 17, 10% that we go up from here. So I'm really tending way more for downside, just because this earnings today gave us the perfect T, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm really tending to downside. April, it was always April lows, sadly. Okay, next one, little update on DJT. Here again, for the big update, I will link the explanation video at the end of the video. Today, we will just look what we have done in the last days. And I really have to say, DJT isn't looking so terrible anymore. I mean, except that we are down here. But after we broke this higher low, where I said this higher low died, and where I showed that this is a perfect head and shoulders, and we most likely will drop and break down here, which I didn't play puts because I forget it. Really, I really forget it because it was a perfect setup. But okay, before perfectly the price target for the head and shoulders, a little bit lower, but now for a bullish thesis, we got a no double bottom. We did a little micro higher low, perfect under 786, and after we finished this little micro higher low, we broke to the upside. In the best case, this is already your little A. You already did your pullback here at the 0.5. You could, if you still need some time, fall to the 618, because A is normally doing that, so something like this, and then we bounce. But if this is now the bottom, we only have two ways to go. First of all, we need the higher low of this thing. That means this is your little A. You will now do your little B and your little C. Your little C will be the peak of this higher low, which shouldn't go over $12-ish. Pull back, and whenever this higher low is finished here, I mean, you could also just go up, just to say this, because something like this, because DJT is always doing that. The uptrends are always absolutely vertical. Also the tiny ones. If you look at this, higher low finished candle. After we finished that, we only have two higher lows we could do. The first one is the small higher low, which won't break over this trend line. So it depends how quick we are, but the peak of it should be around 22 to 20-ish. Pullback, big run, or we are not doing the small one. We easily just do the big one, which isn't allowed to break this level here, which is maximum 40 to 35. I mean, that's tracking for later. The first thing we have to do is this little higher low. When this little higher low is finished, then we really can start tracking the big moves. But DJT right now looks bullish, especially with Trump making a 1 month ceasefire, then peace or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Looks good. Okay, next one is BYND. So for BYND also, for the big tracking, I will link the big update video at the end of the video. Today we are doing two things. First of all, we micro track and look what we have done. Second, we putting the stock side by side where I think the best, how do you say that? The best side by side, the best fractal I could find. This wasn't really English, but you will see what I mean. First of all, we look what we have done. So for Beyond, we only have 2 ways to go. Really, it's just 2 ways. First, we are very, very close. I mean, tomorrow is earnings. For this, our absolute low, not the all-time low, but the low of this fractal was February 5th. And since then, we're doing higher low. The peak of the higher low was February 27th. And right now, we are in the ending. If we only look at this here, you have your peak, C, your lower high, your midpoint, your T. This on Monday, yesterday, was our T. Absolutely clearly. Last time to sell before we get the V. So, tomorrow, after market closes earnings, there are only 2 ways. First, we have here still a gap open, 66 to 65. I really tending to we will close this gap in the best case before earnings. Yeah. If not, there's a good probability we just fill it at earnings. If we instantly bounce there, we have to see. The important part for this is we are not allowed to break 64 cents or touch it. Because if we touch or break 64 cents, this wasn't higher low, this was T. And we will do something similar to FFAI, because we will break through that. The only question then would be, are we holding the low from October or not? If we're not even holding the low from October, it will get very bad very quickly. Not seeing that yet, but always have an alternative. Especially always have your levers. I tell you, if you, no financial advice, but if you break 64 cents, that's bad. If you just gap fill and bounce from here, absolutely fantastic. If you're doing that, my prediction for A in end of April, around something over the peak of October, still stands. Also not financial advice, but looks good. Now to the side by side. One thing before we start with this, because I'm always saying fractal is always repeating itself. It just gets bigger and slower. Still, I am absolutely strict against it to just use bar patterns, because so many other people with fractals are just using bar patterns and saying, hey, look, it's the same. This will happen. Oh shit, wrong. Fractals aren't working. Yeah. It's not only bars pattern, but you can use them. Yeah. For if you have to look what is the fractal of a whole stock, and then you can try to find similarities. So right side, 24 hours beyond from IPO till today, the whole fractal. If we are bullish, yeah. Left side, 1 hour chart from January 2020 till March 2020. And if you look, I'm talking about this section here. Because in my opinion, the whole fractal of Beyond can be seen in small in this section here. And I will explain why. So we have here a peak, same as we have here a peak. We have here a lower peak, same as we have here a lower peak. Here's a third peak, yeah, and it's higher than this one. But in my opinion, you just have to imagine this, yeah, because we didn't see it, because IPO was earlier. Next one, you fall from your right peak down. You fall from your right peak down. You have one hump. You have one hump. Also, if we zoom in here, you have one hump, second hump, third hump. Maybe I can show it. You have here 3 peaks. 1, 2, 3. First one is the highest, middle one is smaller, and last one is the lowest. It's the same like here. Highest, middle, lowest. Then you fall with a knife under it. Then we fall to a knife under it. Then we come up again and make the lower peak. We come up again and making the lower peak. Then you make this hump, then you make this hump, and then you fall down. Then you fall down. You get one last hump. You get one last hump. Also interesting, in the same area here, like we did here. And then you knife down. You knife down. You get your low. You get your low. You come up with a massive candle to the upside. You come up with a massive candle to the upside. And the peak of this upside, is under this peak. So for this downfall and for this downfall, it works perfectly. Now we zoom in. Because this is our big macro high low before we start going up. So we don't have this one because it's just vertical. I mean, you could say it's this little candle here, but I would just say that we just jumped this landmark and just went up. But we got our peak. After our peak, we knife down again. After our peak, we knife down again. We come one time up. We fall again. And now is the question if our bullish tracking is right or wrong. Because, in my opinion, could be wrong. We are right now exactly here. We have this low. We're making a massive peak. And fall down. And also, if we're just using fibs, which is on this time frame here, not so quite nice, but you fell under the 786, so this is your little higher low. And if you do it here, we're also under the 786. The only thing for this to be right is we have to hold 64 cents tomorrow, or where we are right now. But we are not allowed to hit 64 cents. If this is okay, and if this is right, you see this steep uptrend here? In my opinion, this here should be end of April. And that only means something over October. And even then, if this tracking is right, this is maybe not 2026. So I mean the full length, but at least mid of 2027. If bullish tracking is right. It looks fantastic. Now it only has to happen. Okay. And last one is a little update on SPY. So for SPY, I already said last Thursday and Friday, I see a market reversal for this week. I also said on Sunday, I really see a market reversal on Monday. Just for transparency, I said this market, I'm thinking about a market reversal here. Here, because on Friday we got a nice volume candle to the upside. On Monday we got this dump. Just saying. Always be truthful. But still, it was a fucking nice bounce. So, was that it now or not? In the best case, this is little a. In the best case, because from here to here, 0.618 bounce. This was today. Was it today? No, that was yesterday. Higher low, breakout again. Same as here. Higher low, breakout again. Again with war news. Yeah. So for this to be true, so let's say if this is little a, you really have that there is no downside tomorrow. Yeah. For this, you have to go up. Yeah. Otherwise, this isn't a. What could it be otherwise? The only other option you have is this is high or low, this whole thing, and you have to fall under 64.7. But here you have to bounce. If you're not bouncing here, that's really bad. And I talk about really bad. If you're bullish, doesn't matter if this one or the other one, what comes next? The thing is, I already said it on Sunday. The absolutely important thing here, 690 to 675. If you're somewhere in this range, reject, then January was a top. Yeah, I really say that. Then January was a top, because then this becomes your big M, and you really, 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 really go low. Also for this, I mean, I already heard people saying 600 could be. Yeah, it only has to be under 641. Yeah, so it could be also 620. But the problem is that isn't the end. So if anybody is telling you we go up here and reject and knife down and everything is fine, if we do that, we will somewhere between 620 and 600 will bounce. This will be your T. And then the biggest fun is starting. Yeah, I mean, the market won't die, but at least till end of this year, this is going down. And if you're doing the really bearish thing, you can think about the 2-year bear market. Yeah. So that would be the bearish thesis. Bullish thesis, we are not rejecting 690. We're breaking 690. In that case, you make new all-time highs. Doesn't matter if it has to be something 700, 705, 710. You will get a pullback after you made all-time highs. Breakout retest, as always. And if this breakout is holding, you will get another massive bull run. And then we can really talk about high numbers. Yeah. But the important thing here is don't reject 675 to 690. You have to break it. And of course, first of all, you have to go up from here. Yeah. It looks good. Yeah. We already have the news. Yeah. Ceasefire, blah, 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 blah. I only tell you if we break down here, or if, let's say, we get a massive run till Friday or next week and reject here, I already know the news that Iran attacked or Trump bombed or whatever. Someone will break the ceasefire if we do that. Not the market is not dropping because of that. This news is happening because the market is breaking to the downside. But just as easy. Okay, was a little bit shorter video today, but there wasn't, and sorry that I didn't post anything yesterday and on Monday. But if nothing is changing, I won't make videos where I just repeat what the last video was saying. I mean, tell me if you want that. I hate something like that. I always look for something new. Okay. As always, explanation video here, playlist here, big update video here. And if you liked it, leave a like. And if you want to see more, you can leave me an abo. Let's see what happens tomorrow. See ya.